So I am in a bit of a different setup today because I wanted to make a little bit of a different type of video. So I am very well known for having some hot takes when it comes to Pokemon, whether that be Pokemon that I like, dislike, or just opinions in general. But I thought it would be fun to see what your hot takes are. So I made a video asking what your Pokemon hot takes are on all of my other social media platforms. And today I'm going to be reacting to those hot takes. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Okay, I have my phone here. I'm just gonna be picking the ones that I think are the juiciest. Okay, this one stands out to me because I feel personally attacked. They said that Gen 4 is trash. Gen 7 is a top 5 Pokemon mainline game and has done more for the modern main game than people give it credit for. Also, Pokemon Yellow does not get enough credit for creating the concepts for games like Emerald and Platinum. Listen. Gen 4 is my favorite generation, but I fear if you haven't played Pokemon Platinum, then your opinion of Gen 4 may be skewed. Because Pokemon Platinum is a much better game than Diamond and Pearl, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl combined. Also, I'm gonna need an explanation on how Gen 7 has done so much for the mainline games, because if I'm being completely honest, sometimes I forget that Gen 7 exists. I like this next one. They said, I don't know if this is a hot take, but there isn't a bad Pokemon game. I like some more than others, but all of them are great games, which I feel like, especially right now, is a very hot take because the trend right now is to hate on literally every single modern Pokemon game that has come out to date. Don't worry, the nostalgia will kick in like a year or two because now everybody was hating on Pokemon Sword and Shield and all of a sudden everyone's saying that it was such a fun game, such a cozy game, such a pretty game. Weren't you guys complaining about the trees when it came out? This one is interesting because it's about a competing, I guess not really competing currently, franchise, which it says that Digimon will surpass Pokemon in popularity in 5 years if they don't do a 180 with their games. Okay, number one, like I said, I'm gonna need people to explain what they mean by like 180. Like, what are we talking about? What do you want to change? And secondly, is it? Because I haven't really seen Digimon as a direct competitor in like eons. Like maybe when they were both like first released, they were obviously like competing, but up until recently, I haven't heard anything about Digimon. And that's not me hating because I like Digimon, but like I fear that they're not in the same class currently, but they did say 5 years, so let me know. I have to throw in some that have to do with competitive too. So for competitive, this one says, Grassy Glide didn't need to be nerfed and Rillaboom should be buffed. That's interesting. There's also a non-competitive side of this comment as well, and it says that Flygon and Milotic shouldn't get megas because there's nothing about them that is interesting enough for a mega. I feel personally attacked because Flygon and Milotic are some of my favorite Pokemon just based off of like their designs, and I think that they absolutely deserve megas because I like when they give forgotten Pokemon that are maybe uninteresting or unspecial. Unspecial is not a word, but you know what I mean. Just like not as popular Pokemon mega, like Kangaskhan. Who thought about Kangaskhan before they gave it a mega? Nobody. As for Rillaboom, why do we want it to be even more broken? Maybe, okay, the Grassy Glide thing, short. That I can see. I can see that the nerf that they did to that was a little unnecessary. But a buff? Please, he's literally about to start creeping up into Incineroar territory if we give him a buff, I fear. Okay, this next one says that Lucario is trash, Charizard is trash, Greninja's lame, Zeraora is Lucario but yellow, Incineroar is good for the VGC scene, and Brock would be better than Ash in battling if that was his focus. Hold on. I fear that we just want to be quirky with this one and just dog on all of the popular Pokemon. Lucario is, he's cool, right? Like, I don't really have like a strong opinion on Lucario. I think he's a cool Pokemon. Is he a little overrated? Yes, because a lot of people think that Lucario is cool and a lot of people like Lucario, but I don't think he's trash. Maybe competitively, because he can't really do anything there, but I don't think in general he is. Now, Charizard being trash Number one, once again, competitively, kind of, yes. Except in, like, Regulation H, where he's able to do something on, like, Sun teams with, like, Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. But I actually like Charizard, which I feel like is very surprising because I always say that Charizard is overrated because he is. Like, we can stop giving him the golden child treatment, okay? It's okay. He's, like, the most popular starter out of all the other starters, and, like, I think that he gets a little bit too much attention, but I don't dislike him in any way, shape, or form. He was actually one of my first plushies. You can't see it, but I have like a very lumpy Charizard behind me, and he's been with me almost as long as my little Raichu over here. Now, Greninja being lame, absolutely not. I love Greninja. Do I like Delphox better? Yes, but Greninja is also cool, especially the shiny. Zeraora being Lucario, but yellow? Sure, yeah, that I honestly forget that Zeraora exists, so like that's fair, that's valid. He's just kind of done already, and he's kind of unnecessary. I feel like a lot of like the newer mythicals are kind of unnecessary lately. Okay, but Incineroar being good for the VGC scene? Absolutely not. Jail. Because that is literally the strongest VGC Pokemon of like all time. Like there's no debating, like there's no Pokemon that is as like versatile as Incineroar. And as much as I like dislike the way that Incineroar looks because his design is hideous, I still use him because I know that like he's just that good competitively, and I don't think that there's another Pokemon that's at the same like level as Incineroar. Like you could probably argue like Miraidon, but like even Miraidon I feel like is easier to deal with than Incineroar. Incineroar just has so much going for it. I think that it needs to be nerfed. Like there's a reason why you see it on almost every single competitive team. So I don't know about being good and healthy. I just think he's a little broken and that he actually needs to be taken down a peg. As for Brock being better than Ash in battling, like maybe early on. I mean, he's an early gym leader. So, like, I don't think he's that skilled. Like, obviously, he's skilled enough to be a gym leader, but I don't think he's that skilled at battling, especially because, obviously, eventually Ash does become a champion. So, realistically, he would be a better battler than Brock. But maybe early on, for sure. Yeah, if he wasn't, like, so focused on being, like, a Pokemon breeder. And then later, like, doctor. Now, this one is, I feel like, a hot take in the sense that, like, people have very much switched opinions on this, and they said that Gen 5 isn't even top 3 gens. Obviously when the Gen 5 games first came out, they received so much hate. Like I said, it happens with every single new Pokemon game ever, and then nostalgia takes over after like a year or two and everybody loves them. But when Gen 5 first released, obviously it got like a lot of hate, but I think that they're probably one of the more loved games nowadays. So I don't even know what to say to that because Gen 5 is one of my favorite gens, and I don't think that there's anything that I would particularly complain about for the Gen 5 games. Like I literally have a copy of Black 2 in my DS Lite right now. This one is also interesting. They said that every single Pokemon line should have at least one evolution in it. It ruins the magic when a Pokemon doesn't evolve. Also tangibly related, baby Pokemon are a waste of dex space if they're released outside of the generation of the Mon they evolve into. I feel like I kind of agree. I feel like it's kind of something that you look forward to when your Pokemon evolve, so it is a little like lackluster if your Pokemon is just there, like it's just one stage, which I also feel is why they started adding like the baby Pokemon, so that more Pokemon could have like more stages in their evolution, because they realize that people do like when their Pokemon evolve. Now this one I feel like is actually a hot take. They said hate for popular Pokemon like Charizard, Lucario, and Greninja, didn't we have one of those earlier, is forced and or based in jealousy over their own favorites not getting as much attention. It's like hating pop music just to seem cool and unique. I'm not gonna lie, I think I actually agree. As somebody whose favorite Pokemon is an Evolution, I get so much hate getting called basic, whatever. People assume that I know nothing about Pokemon because I like the Evolution line, whatever. So I feel like that's kind of true. Like people do tend to just attack people that have popular Pokemon as their favorites because they want their Pokemon to feel more special to them, or they want to in some way feel like they are cooler and have more knowledge than you because their Pokemon is more niche. Like, I'm sorry, if your favorite Pokemon is Blipbug, that's great, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep liking my Evolutions. This one feels like a personal attack on people like me. It says if you play competitive Pokemon with meta builds or broken Pokemon and not your favorite Pokemon or your dream team, you're the problem and ruined online battling. as a competitive player, I disagree because a lot of Pokemon have grown on me thanks to them being good and competitive. And not just because they're good, but because I feel like if your Pokemon, like if you have trust in your Pokemon and you know that it will perform well, it like creates a bond with your Pokemon. Which is kind of like how I feel about like the entire like story of like Legends ZA is like you're supposed to like bond with your Pokemon, and that's why they're able to mega evolve and become stronger. But like, for example, Amoonguss was not in like my top Pokemon originally, but I started using it in competitive because it had a really good like support niche that it could fill, and it slowly became one of my favorite Pokemon. And although like it's not like the cutest Pokemon in most people's opinions, I think it's cute. It grew on me. Also things like Landorus, for example. Landorus was a Pokemon that also was not one of my favorite Pokemon, but the more that I used it and the more that I like had faith and trust in it and saw that it was a very viable Pokemon, I ended up liking Landorus, when before I literally like disdained every single one of the forces of nature, which is Tornadus, Thundurus, Landorus, and Enamorus. But Landorus is now one of my more liked Pokemon. I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorites, but I did actually start to like him a lot more the more that I used him because he was good. So I feel like it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because like I feel like a lot of times competitive players are playing with their favorites, and their favorites just happen to be good. Which, one of my examples of a Pokemon that's one of my favorites and just happens to be good and is one of the most disliked Pokemon in competitive is Calyrex Shadow Rider. Personally, I don't particularly care for Calyrex, which is the rabbit, but then this is a fusion Pokemon. It sits on Spectrier, and Spectrier is one of my favorite Pokemon, and so like them working together and being one of the best competitive Pokemon to use in a regulation that allows legendaries was kind of like fate, and I think it actually ended up making me play better because I did enjoy using it, which I think is something that's like an original experience for people that do play competitive. Is that a lot of the times when you do end up using Pokemon that you do like, you end up not only having more fun, but also just feeling more comfortable with the team and playing better. Okay, this next one is another one that I fear I do disagree with, but it is that Pokemon Legends Arceus is better than Pokemon Legends ZA. And obviously this is definitely more of like an opinion-based thing, because some people really enjoyed Pokemon Legends Arceus because it did have a great story. But for me personally, it was just a very like grindy feeling game. Like there was a lot of long pauses in between the actual story progression because you did have to complete the research task to get your star ranks up so that you could actually progress in the story. And that really slowed down the game for me and made it feel like more of a chore to get the actual research task done, rather than it being more of like a natural thing that you do as you play the game. Like I felt forced to keep catching the same Pokemon over and over and over and over again just so that I could, you know, get back to the story, which was a really good story. I did enjoy the story, but it was just that middle section that wasn't for me. Whereas with Pokemon Legends ZA, it felt like the research tasks were more integrated into the actual story so that it didn't feel like you were just grinding Pokemon, and it felt more rewarding to actually finish the task, and it didn't slow down the pace of the game as much as it felt like in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Like, I'm not saying that Pokemon Legends Arceus is not a good game. Like I said, I did enjoy the story, and I don't think it's a bad game, but I just personally prefer Pokemon Legends ZA. But let me know what your opinion is on that, because I feel like that is also a very divisive one. Okay, this is from a different platform, and it says, my hot take is that Pokemon would be cooler if it stopped being turn-based battling and focused only on action RPG. So, also they asked if I changed my eye color. Chat, please. You all know that I wear silver contacts that happen to look blue. My eyes are brown. Come on, it's been years. Come on. But I don't think that's a bad idea, and I think that they are kind of toying with it with Pokemon Legends ZA, since Pokemon Legends ZA is real-time battles, and it is really fun. It's definitely like a learning curve, especially if you are used to the turn-based battles, but I think that it would be a really fun addition to the games. Perhaps not like completely like that, but maybe if they focused the turn-based battles in something like Champions and then kept like the real-time battles in the actual like mainline games, I think that would be like a nice happy balance. Now this one I also agree with. They said that Pokemon Legends Z8 is a good game, and anyone that says otherwise is either closed-minded or hasn't played the game yet. And I feel like there is some truth in that, in the sense that like most of the people that I have run into that have the strongest opinions on Legends EA say that they don't have to play the game to have an opinion on it, and I think that that is absolutely unfair to the game, because after you get through the tutorial period in the game, it's actually such a fun game. I haven't had that much fun playing a Pokemon game since Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's just such an immersive game, and it's just so fun to play that I feel like if you gave it a chance and you went into the game with an open mind, that a lot of these people that are just hearing like the trendy opinion of like hating on the newest Pokemon game, like I said, like it happens every single time, that they would actually end up really liking and enjoying the game for themselves, especially if they were fans of Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I do think that the game does get a great deal of very unnecessary hate, because people just kind of hear an opinion online and then just kind of run with it without actually forming an opinion for themselves. Now, this one I am absolutely going to need an explanation for. They said Legends games take diversity away from the games. I don't really understand this one, because the Legends games have both introduced mechanics that are different from the traditional mainline Pokemon games. Technically, the Legends games are mainline games, but obviously they are a different vibe from the actual like more linear Pokemon games like Pokemon Sword and Shield, or even Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which was, yes, more open world and did have 3 different paths that you could take, but it was still a more linear game in the sense that like you knew what you had to do in order to like beat the game, basically. Like you knew you had to go through the gym challenge, you knew you had to beat the evil team, you knew you had to catch all of the Titan Pokemon, whereas like with Pokemon Legends Arceus and Pokemon Legends ZA, it's definitely more of like an explorer type of game, and it's even more so an open world game. So I'm not particularly sure how they are taking away from the diversity. Would love you guys' opinions on that, because that one I think I'm just confused on. Especially when we're getting mechanics like real-time battles, or new Pokemon variants like regional variants like the Sneasel line getting the Hisuian forms, or even the Arcanine line with Hisuian Growlithe and Hisuian Arcanine, and then in ZA we get the brand new Mega Evolutions that are coming out. Okay, and I'm going to end it off on this one because this is already like almost 30 minutes of footage that I'm going to have to cut down to make into a much more concise video, but this last one is also competitive themed. So it says, it's not fun watching players use either a majority or full team of legendary Pokemon in VGC. I think that this is also like a very like divisive opinion, because I can definitely see like both points of view, especially if you are more of a casual player that just enjoys watching VGC like as a hobby and you're not actually like super partaking in it in order to like, you know, get your Worlds invite or get your championship points, whatever. Because I can see from a casual standpoint that like if somebody just uses a full team of legendaries, it feels very overpowered, especially if you are using like your favorite Pokemon. Like if I use an Espeon and I go up against a Calyrex Shadow Rider, like I'm cooked, you know? And it's just, it doesn't make it fun for you to play the game if you're going up against somebody that has a team like that. Whereas like if you are actually like playing in a competitive setting and you do want to, you know, work up the ranks, get your championship points, get your Worlds invite, whatever, be the best in the world, then you kind of do have to use the meta. And I fear that's just something that does happen in every single game that has any type of competitive aspect in it. Even games like fighting games, you obviously use specific characters that are good, because otherwise you just get cooked. So like I can definitely see both sides of this argument. Like I can see how from a more casual standpoint that it's not fun to watch, because you're just like, ugh, this person is just using an overpowered Pokemon. Of course they're gonna win. But when you are like actively going through like a tournament, then you're just like, oh my god, everybody is using these Pokemon, so the playing field is obviously like more leveled, and you don't have to worry about like getting absolutely trampled because you all have like similar power leveled Pokemon. However, I am always the biggest advocate to play the game to have fun, so if you want to use your favorites, for sure. And I always say that like if you're good enough, you can win with your favorites. I'm not good enough to win with my favorites yet. I took Espeon to a regional and I got absolutely, like I said, cooked. I literally only won 2 rounds, the worst I've ever done at a regional. So I'm not at that level. I am not able to win with my favorites, at least not in a like formal competitive setting. But if I take Espeon or like a full team of evolutions on the in-game ladder, I think that it is fun. And are they going to lose a lot? Probably. But I think that if you look at it more from a sense that like you're just playing the game to have fun, you want to see if your favorites can do something, that it will change your mind. But like I said, I can definitely see both sides of this argument. But let me know what you think about that, especially if you do play competitively. Okay, I fear I have rambled enough in this video, but let me know if you would like more videos like this and you would like me to react to more of your opinions or just kind of like yap about different topics. And also, of course, check out all of my other socials because that's where I post fun little like question videos like this. There's a link down below. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, thank you so much to those of you who have joined the channel as members. I appreciate you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.